to be humanist. Before I start, this post was the one I was most excited about, and I was so enthusiastic about writing it and so impatient to publish it. But I found myself taking more time than anticipated to write it, as I realized that the post subjects were numerous, with no fluid nor coherent streak to it. And so it made me late to my monthly publishing set date, as I really wanted to work more on it and make it as simple and easy as possible to read and understand. My apologies. My humanity. Humanity is a word that is so broad, so extensive, and so wide. It wouldn't be possible for me to address all that is included in its extensiveness. And so, even though this post might look and feel a little bit of a pell-mell one, it is all correlated. Therefore, I will try to make it a clear and coherent pell-mell. It might be weird to start with this, but this here is one of the stones that had grounded me in my humanity and its values. I believe I was around 9 years old when one day I asked myself, what would I do if my mother would abuse my father and if my father would abuse my mother? What would I do if one of them would abuse the other? What would be my standpoint? It was quickly clear to me that I would not caution neither of the abuse or situation if it were to ever happen in the future. What was important for me with that rhetorical question was to equalize both of them, put them both on an equal stand, on a status of equality, and to not discriminate either for a practical equal treatment always. So I anchored that decision and that thought in me and made it an important value while growing up, applying it in other contexts. But at the time, I was not fully conscious of the type of relationship balance or the type of power balance that had been constructed at some point of society history. And that was, or actually is still, in place in society. I most definitely had no idea it was so imbalanced, unjust, with unjustifiable and illogical underlying reasons. I still kept my equality decision value in balance. Well, I think I did. Nonetheless, it was only after I became conscious of the inequalities through observations of my surroundings that I started noticing the specific and extended rights and freedom boys my age were given and men in general had. They were also more knowledgeable of those rights and freedom versus girls and women who were less knowledgeable of all of the rights they had naturally, and they had more duties than rights with less freedom. The disparity was being thought as being normal. And for women, what were their duties were more thought to them than what were their rights and freedom, or in some cases, the duties they did or had were thought as being their rights. While wanting to understand more about that disparity that was made to be accepted by all the members of society, mainly upon the basis of biological and or physiological differences between men and women, I started analyzing the discrimination system and structure that was established in the society. Inevitably, pretty soon, one starts to question and pay more attention to what I have regrouped into 3 categories established in society that are 1. The form or conception of gender or human definition. 2. Roles constructions system. and 3, work distribution or attribution concept. So it's stuff like what a man or a woman is supposed to be, how each is supposed to be, who each is supposed to be, what each is supposed to do, not to mention how each is supposed to look like. To me, specifically, in the case of the work distribution or attribution design, and a little bit of the roles construction system, 2 of the issues are that, first, their conception is very static, and second, it has unfortunately been crystallized through time in its day-to-day application, partly because of the narrow and limitative conception of gender or human definition and of roles construction system established. For example, having and perpetuating a discourse forbidding men to cook, clean, and care, or a discourse limiting women to specific work and development areas, or a discourse devaluing one when they do the discourse's exact opposite, to me, is clearly so counterproductive, counter growth, advancement, moving forward, or counter life adaptive for society. And that condemns society's future in a long-term run. Consequently, the following questions come to mind. How can you forbid yourself from doing the things, activities, tasks that literally feed your own body with the nutrients you absolutely, unquestionably require to live, to work, and do so much more essential things? Why would you want to have such a limitative definition of self, trapping yourself in a provider and protector only definition, instead of the whole, full human one that you are anyways? What for? How and why can one limit women in who they are, who they want to be, what they can do, what they can be, and contribute to society, and limit them in the choices they want to make by themselves? Although I believe I did get a sense of the answer to the why and what for me, the work distribution or attribution system between humans, genders, or members of society, as well as roles construction, needs to be dynamic, versatile, interactive, and interchangeable or switchable. The simplest reason I saw for it: one does not know what tomorrow holds. Society needs to be able to adapt quickly or as quick as possible to environment changes, ecosystem changes, life changes. Organizing and distributing work in a society is not at all an issue or the issue here. On the contrary, it is necessary. An individual on his/her own will naturally have to organize the work that needs to be done in order to optimally fulfill her or his needs with the resources they have. So with some reflection, you understand that there is more than one way to organize a society. There has always been a very wide diversity of organizing systems and structures, actually. And as such, you understand that the current system is not necessarily the best one. I believe we've had better ones, but to be inquired. I do intend to elaborate more on the unjustifiable and illogical underlying reasons I mentioned earlier in a future publication or post, which are for me intrinsically linked to the given gender human definitions, roles construction, and work distribution or attribution systems. To finish with, I find this following quote provides, for future posts, a good introduction and sneak peek about understanding, deconstructing, and changing the current major roles construction system. The quote is initially in French, so I'll be reading it in both languages. So here we go. C'est vrai, mais c'est l'homme qui a choisi de se valoriser uniquement par son rôle de pourvoyeur pendant trop longtemps. Si, socialement, on s'était valorisé par le relationnel, on nous valoriserait ainsi aujourd'hui. Which translates into, it is true, but it is the man who chose to value himself only by his role of provider for too long. If we had valued ourselves socially through relationships, we would be valued this way today. And this quote here helps me restore my humanity. Nota bene. As an African hair, as a Gumache child, I know that there were other limitative systems, to say the least, that were constructed in order to establish, oppose, and attach an external definition of me, but not only me, upon me, but not only me, again. Over time, looking at it over the shoulder, those systems became an attempt to internalize into me an outsourced, outside, extrinsic definition of me and make it true for me. But this is actually going to be for another time, another post, another publication on my blog. Although I can already say that those systems were quickly easy for me to mentally free self from and deconstruct. Oh, my humanity.